record this so that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just recording it so that we can probably also use it as a YouTube video so that other people can see our conversation, if that is okay with you.
Should be okay. Yeah, I'm going to record it on my end also, just so that I have copies that I need to do a transcription and also.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a lot of online names. So I typically go by Anando or Andy.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm originally from Bangladesh, but I live in. I'm Bangladeshi citizen, but I live in the United States for a long time now. And I have been involved with DTube about 2 years, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions I want to ask, like, what is your role in DTube? Because you have multiple roles. Like, so I just want to ask that first.
What is my role of DTube? It's actually a complicated question because if you know how a startup works, the way I view it, of course, everybody has their way of viewing about it. So when you work for a startup, your roles are not very well defined.
Right.
Because you are just trying to build something which haven't really taken the fullest form. So that's how I personally view DTube. I'm passionate about the idea. So a lot of leaders, and I don't want to talk for themselves, but I have the perception that many people in crypto, they join to the crypto to make money. I mean, which is perfectly fine because you have money, you want to invest in good projects and you want to make money. But I definitely don't view DTube from that perspective. I'm definitely, like DTube is only one project which I don't view it that I am in this project to make money. I am involved in lots of other projects. And I mean, I have tokens or coins from at least 10, 20 other crypto projects. But in DTube's case, I have a little bit different motivation. That's why I have taken role, I have the developer role, where by that, what I mean is that I sometimes when I have time, I do coding, fix bugs. On the other hand, I also have a significant stake. That's why the top 15 leaders, the beautiful part in DTube's case is that you are elected leaders, right? It's not that easy for someone to just buy up a lot of coins and become a leader. It's possible, but I would say that a lot of leaders on DTube, at least few of them, they are leaders because community wanted them to be leaders, which is a good thing. So I definitely think that I got a lot of support from DTube community now or before. So what that means is that I definitely take that leadership position or leadership role seriously in the sense that okay, to answer your question, mainly leadership role and developer role. These are the two things. Now, those two, at least the leadership role is a very vast role, right? Because it can lead you towards doing many different things. But what I try to do over time is sort of, my personal viewpoint was DTube has suffered from a little bit less well planned. It's like almost all startups have that problem. So I always try to steer it to the right direction. I'm not sure whether I have been successful, but steer it to the right direction so that even if it is slow, we are moving towards the right direction. What do I mean by right direction is that I always cared about anytime I saw something that is detrimental towards the idea of decentralization, I was against it. Anytime I saw that there is not fairness, for example, some leaders runs bots, I was always against it because I don't want a social media platform to be heavily influenced by bots. And I didn't like the fact that leaders can make money off of regular users. So some of those, like in my head, I have an idea that, oh, like there is traditional social media, meaning YouTube, Facebook. What is the reason for us to envision about another social media? So the problems of social media is, for example, algorithmic manipulation, too much central power in few people's hand. Those things I don't want in DTube, but at the same time, it's not that hard. It's pretty difficult because it's always that I am just one voice. So I always, as a lead, I try to use my leadership roles so that I can align or try to argue with other leaders to sort of find a place where everybody understands why we should be envisioning an alternative social media. I gave you a long answer, but I mean, it's also not very clear to me, because there were many times frankly speaking, I thought, oh, I'm going to leave this project because it's not going as I expected. But yeah, that's why that's a very difficult question to answer. Yeah.
I think I can imagine, because it's a complicated role, and then like there's so much happening in the platform, on the forums, etc. And then I've seen you like being actively like kind of participating on the forums, kind of moderating the discussions there. So, and
Yes.
I've also seen you make videos, I think. So I see you as a creator also. So, and
Yes.
of course, based on your role, I have like a few questions that I would have asked, but then I think since you've already spoken a few things, I want to just take on those and ask questions there. I think, like you said, it's things about challenges of running platforms like this. One of the things, what again I've heard from other people I've spoken to on YouTube, or like in general, is it the technology that is making it difficult, or is it like the nature where it's kind of startup, so everybody is into like kind of make money out of it? And yeah, so it's like there's a technical challenge about like when you're doing things with technology, when you try to scale it up, all the problems come in. And similarly, there's a culture where like startups are meant to like kind of make a lot of money for like the team who was involved in the startup. So are there like those challenges too?
Yeah, there's many challenges like that. I mean, so I mean, to be honest, technical challenge is there. First of all, the idea of DTube is that we want to create a decentralized video platform. What does that really mean? That itself is very vague to most people's minds, because a lot of DTubers have joined DTube not necessarily wanting to champion decentralized video platform. They joined here because they thought, oh, this is another coin and they can probably earn coin very easily and get rich. So I'm not blaming them. Of course, that should be a motivation for any creator to join. From a creator's perspective, it's probably not very important for them to understand the technology or that vision of changing the internet or anything. But sometimes that gets complicated, because then users will say, oh, why is my videos not being hosted properly? Or why do you guys not have this feature or that feature? Because all those questions are linked to the technology. Because we are not just trying to create another YouTube, Vimeo, for example, or like a lot of other similar platforms. They're just copycat of YouTube, right? You just buy some servers up and you just create a website and you just upload the things. But in DTube's case, we say that, oh, we want to be decentralized. What does that mean? So that comes back to the core question is, what is Bitcoin? A lot of people don't understand Bitcoin. Like most people in Bitcoin, they think that, oh, Bitcoin is just another vehicle of making money. But that is not the case. Bitcoin is about owning your own money. Meaning, like traditionally, most money that we own, we are just keeping it in the bank. Like you have the illusion that, oh, you have the money, but you actually don't own the money. If government wants, they can just take away your money. If bank wants, they can just take away that money. So I live in United States. advanced country, most advanced country, that's not going to happen because there are a lot of laws in place, but it just always happens in smaller countries where like governments are corrupt or banking officials are corrupt and they take away money. So the idea of Bitcoin is about that, we want to own our own private key, and therefore we want to have our own custody of the money that we own. So it's sort of this idea of pure money. Okay, so when we think about decentralized internet, it's similar. For example, okay, if you have your own content, for example, last 20 years, Facebook or YouTube, all these platforms, everybody very almost non-conscientiously, we use these platforms. We just literally, there are so many vloggers literally just giving up their own valuable time, taking videos and just uploading. It's like literally your entire life you are uploading into these platforms, and then these platforms are making billions of dollars out of this data. They are basically tracking everything. They understand what your preferences are. All these advertising companies are targeting. So in many ways, it's good because you're being recommended, but at the same time, you are not gaining anything. You know what I'm like? Of course, if you become a very popular YouTuber or become a very big Instagram influencer, maybe you are earning a little bit, but it's nothing compared to how much money these big companies make. So what is the solution to that? So to understand the solution or to find the solution, you need to first understand the problem. The problem is that just like in the Bitcoin's case, in money case, we are just giving up our own money to these banks or governments to take care of. That's the same problem here, that we are giving up our own contents and uploading into these platforms, and they have the incentive to make it easier and easier, and for us to feel like, oh, they're going to take care of us. But we know, I mean, last few years, we have seen how Facebook manipulates, or how we know lots of different problems these platforms create. So then we need to understand that, oh, if we really want to get out of this situation, that means we need to be more responsible. So we need to be, in Bitcoin's case, you want to be more responsible with your money. In DTube's case or similar platforms case, I feel like you want to be more responsible, or you want to own your own content and not give away your data. Now the question is, what kind of technology are there to ensure it? Bitcoin, for example, in Bitcoin's case, Bitcoin came for the first time with the idea that, oh, now we can have a decentralized ledger so that we, even if there is no centralized authority taking care of the registry book, we can still have a ledger book all across the world, 24/7. We know how much you own it. All you need to do is that you need to remember, or you need to know your private key. That's all. That's the single requirement there is. But when we talk about content, we need a little bit more than that. So that's where comes this IPFS protocols, BTFS. I won't say that they are decentralized. Even IPFS, only few nodes are running here and there. So in many ways, you can say that, oh, they are also centralized. But at least the vision is there. The idea is that, oh, over time, if more and more just like think about right now, when I joined Bitcoin in 2014, there was only few million people. And now there's 140 million. The Bitcoin network is the biggest network you can imagine of. There's 140 million nodes right now, or 140 million people own Bitcoin. So over time, 10, 20 years, I believe that there will be a lot of IPFS nodes. I think pretty much everybody use WebTorrent. So that means in WebTorrent, you are using the torrent network. So over time, when internet becomes more accessible, I believe there will be more and more nodes. And given the technology or devices becoming more powerful, it's highly likely that we don't have to give up our own contents anymore. There will be a day where we can say that I will host my own content. So we already have that protocol. We already have the IPFS protocol where I can say that I can host my own content. So that is basically, now we're talking about truly decentralized internet, right? Where I'm saying I create my own content, I own my own content. You are the one who, I am giving you the privilege of watching my content. It's not that you are giving me the privilege. YouTube is saying that, oh, I am giving you the privilege of uploading all this contents on my platform. We are trying to completely destroy that idea. It's not that, no, YouTube is not giving us any privilege. I am giving you the privilege by uploading my content to you, okay? So it's kind of like getting back that power in our hand, just like the core idea of Bitcoin, that we want to, money is power, we all know that, and we want to have that power in our hand. And in the case of DTube or this social economy, I feel like the content is the power. We now live in this attention economy, and we need to, the only way we can get back that power is to say that we can take care of our own content. But this is like very futuristic, of course, because as I say, these technologies, these protocols need to be developed over time. It will require at least 10 years. I mean, but that's not a lot. If you think about where Bitcoin started in 2009, and now we are 12 years, and we have come this far. Nobody questions Bitcoin anymore, right? But even like if you look back even 5 years ago, everybody, 5 years before, there wasn't even Ethereum, right? Ethereum came into existence when, like 2017, and after Ethereum, now there's 11,000 coins. So we now know that things have shifted quite a bit. So basically, coming back to what is the challenges then? So the challenges is then that DTube success depend on the success of a lot of these other decentralized protocols. So IPFS, BTFS, and also DTube success depends on internet being penetrating to many different regions, and also like. So ultimately, we have just like in Bitcoin's case, we talk about centralized government having all the power and the decision and making all the decisions. In the case of social network and content economy or attention economy, it's just that only few companies, Amazon, Google, Facebook, all Apple, they have this centralized servers that dictate the life of the content creators. Or literally everybody, content consumers also. So now the question is, we want to, instead of having this centralized, full of bottleneck like infrastructure, we want to move towards more decentralized system where it's kind of like, think about like moving towards more small nodes rather than one big super single node, which can be very efficient, but the problem is that then it becomes very centralized. And that requires a lot of education. But I believe as more and more people understand Bitcoin, understand cryptocurrency, understand all these new protocols, there's a heavy learning curve, and people will eventually learn about the problems of centralized social media, problems of centralized decision-making power by this social media, and it's already happening. A lot of people are already moving to the alternative. I'm not saying that all this have only positive side. There's also negative side to it also, because any alternative media will be used by criminals with bad intention. Like you can think about child pornography or everything bad thing that you can think of internet, that will also be thriving because of this alternative media. But at the same time, the brighter side is that if more and more people want freedom, more and more people want to take care of their own content, understand how the attention economy works, my hope is that in future, there will be more responsible people in this space, and hopefully we can see a truly decentralized internet where we don't act like puppets of all these big social media companies. So yeah, so that is, I would say, the technical challenges, because DTube depends on all these other technologies where those technologies need to first develop. That is one challenge. But then there are a lot of like organizational challenges. So organizational challenges, for example, typically how a company works. As you can think of it, during COVID, how we work has changed, right? Because of COVID. Now we work, like, for example, my company is in California. I'm working for the company living in Houston, Texas. So, um, but at the same time, which is all good that we can work from remotely, from home, from wherever. But definitely it affects efficiency sometimes, especially how do you build trust? For example, there's 15 leaders, right? So the question is, the only way, for example, the only way you understand me or you can know me is whatever I put myself as my statements or whatever my interactions are. So other 14 leaders, they only know me through my interaction through YouTube. And I am probably one of the most, how to say, I also like to talk. I also like to interact with people. So it's easy for them to understand me, my intentions. But a lot of other leaders, frankly speaking, I don't know their true intentions. Why are they there? Now the thing is, when there comes a time when serious decisions need to be made, like how do you trust these people when it comes down to a future of an organization like DQ? So those are real challenges, and doing it online, keeping such privacy, it's sometimes is hard, and I think the creator of DTU, Heymin, he actually suffers from this more than anybody else, because I think his heart is in the right place. He wants he knows what is important, what needs to be done, but he has the problem of trusting people, like how can he trust me? How can he know what's my intention is? For example, there are a lot of criticism that, oh, he controls a lot of servers, or he controls a lot of private keys. Now the question is, how can he give away those controls? You know what I'm talking about? Like, he being the top, he being the creator, it's easy to say, oh, give up your control, but you don't know what will happen if you give up the control, because you don't know. Because if you're not the founder, if you're not the creator, if you give away the control, you don't know which direction it will go to. And I'm not saying that should be the reason to have all the control in your hand, but all I'm saying, as you asked me the question, the challenges, these are the challenges of working remotely, sort of like this cryptocurrency space.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I have like two threads of thoughts here. Like one, like the whole idea of decentralization and where it is going. So one of the things that like I have in mind, again, it might be a complicated question, but since you have the technological background, so I think I'll go ahead and ask it. Like basically what big companies do is make it easy, like make it more accessible for you users. Like so if I have a smartphone, I can create a content and upload. So that makes it easy. So what they have done is like made the technology easy to kind of access. On the other hand, like if I have to run, so I have tried running IPFS node on a like really good computer with like a decent bandwidth. Still, I can't run it. So I mean, like, a lot of these technologies still have that kind of challenges to. The learning curve is quite steep, I think. So that's one thing. Although they have existed for a while. So
Right.
yeah, I think so. There is this simplicity that big corporations bring in, whereas for decentralization, that like you mentioned, the learning curve has to be like changed. So do you know what is happening, or like any idea where we are going in that direction? Is it becoming easier? Yeah.
It's definitely getting better, but as you can tell that um, anything, first of all, for any sort of technology to be developed, you need smart people to believe in it and work in it. And smart people like me, for example, or anybody will not just spend their valuable like mental energy on something that does not reward them. But still, there are idealists. Maybe I am one of them. Like that, people still do things even when there is no incentive. But you need a lot of people working together relentlessly to make something happen. So what I'm ultimately saying, for example, you are doing this research, right? So I'm assuming you have a little bit funding. Think about if you didn't have the funding, if you couldn't publish, if you didn't if you know that, oh, whatever you are doing here, you cannot publish this because nobody will accept it, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to be spending hours trying to create questionnaires, trying to make people's interviews, right? So we all need a little bit incentive. So I feel like a lot of these technologies, because they threaten a lot of powerful entities, there's always a pushback, right? For example, maybe sometimes there's not enough funding. For example, IPFS is an organization, I don't know how much money they have. So maybe, for example, government probably doesn't also want decentralization. You know what I mean? Government wants power, government wants control. So government is already making cryptocurrencies so difficult. So if you, on almost every level, if you see so much pushbacks towards the technology, it's not going to happen that easily. You know what I'm talking about? Because ultimately, all these technologies are going to be made by engineers, by scientists, and engineers and scientists, they are hardworking people. They are not policymakers. You know, they are not the kind of person who is going to go out. You need lawyers also, you know, to fight for you. So I don't think, that's why I don't think it's, but I think it's still, I would say a lot of things depend on Bitcoin. So if we see more and Bitcoin being successful, all the cryptocurrency, the whole cryptocurrency area, more and more money will be invested, more and more investors will have confidence to invest into this technologies. But if you see there's a huge pushback in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, then a lot of this efforts will slow down. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you can argue from the other point of view also. For example, a lot of people ask that what is the point of Bitcoin? You know, like why should people use Bitcoin? And what is this bringing value to our society? There, I can say that maybe DTube has much better answer than Bitcoin, because in DTube's case, I can argue that, hey, look here, that somebody who is in Bangladesh, like in a small village, they don't have any jobs. They don't have any other means to participate into this digital economy. Now, because of DTube, they can actually participate. They can participate into this content economy, and they can earn tokens that can be their livelihood. And more, as we are progressing towards AI, artificial intelligence, and more we can see like lots of manual labor kind of jobs are gonna go away, and more developed countries already has moved more and more this sort of content economy. So so also like DTube is probably one of this small example where you can see that how a cryptocurrency can be used for real world, real economic activity. So another thing can be in DTube's case, how it is disrupting the ad-based model, because we don't have any advertisements. And we know that's a big problem in the social media, because social media companies need to run. They are not giving all those free storage that, oh, you can upload every day so many videos. Where does those money come from? Those money come from the advertisers, correct? Those money come from the advertisers, but then those advertisements are targeting us, and that's why they're collecting data. So it's like a cyclical, very bad cycle of sort of creating platforms which are not meant to serve the welfare of people, rather than basically serving the shareholders or serving these advertising companies. I'm not saying that that's what everybody's doing, but I'm saying that there's a real problem into that model. So DTube is sort of DTube cryptocurrency based, blockchain based token economy is a sort of answer to that. At the same time, the problem is there are problems like if you monetize everything, sometimes it probably loses its inherent value a little bit, because sometimes probably you need to separate the monetary value from the real value of a content. So there are challenges of many sorts. Coming back to your question is that I think the technological progress is in the right direction, but realistically, when will that happen? How fast that will happen? I don't know that answer, but it will definitely happen. Just like Bitcoin has happened. This sort of, so I view DTube sort of like, if you think about the progression of social medias, there was MySpace failed, and then there were a lot of other competitors. Most people probably don't even remember, but then finally Facebook has succeeded. Now you can see that Facebook almost failed. If Facebook wouldn't buy Instagram, then probably Facebook would have completely failed. So a lot of, majority of their revenues come from Instagram. And then you can see how TikTok is being like a lot of other similar platforms with different purposes that's coming into existence. So what I'm suggesting here, let's say DTube may fail for many different reasons. It can be organizational problems, it can be leaders being irresponsible, but the idea of DTube that I try to talk here, that the idea of decentralized video platform where users will have the ownership of their content, and kind of like we will focus more and more privacy oriented, less censorship based social media. Those ideas will of course be here. Whether that will be DTube, I'm not sure. So I personally joined DTube and I came to this space with those vision in mind. But I am also like, frankly, can't say whether DTube will be able to give that, like will be able to reach there. But I'm trying because I have a high stake on DTube. That's why I'm trying. If that answers your questions.
Yeah. It does. I think it's quite interesting because you can't definitely give one answer. It's like kind of giving a broad answer.
Yeah.
And which brings me to the second question, which again based on what you've already answered, like a bit broad maybe, but what is interesting about DTube is the governance, where like you mentioned about leaders being elected. So I can't just start mining, like I can't like invest a lot of money and become a leader and then like increase my stake in the platform. Similarly, even in terms of content, the way content is being, the way we like upvote, downvote, we have a voting power, and then there's a tip system that has come in now where you can actually give some of the cryptocurrency back to the creator. So it's an interesting governance model there. So I think what I want to hear from you is like how has it changed over time since you have been on DTube? So I want to hear the story of change of this governance. Like you could be the leadership or the content moderation itself.
To be honest, I wanted, like from the very beginning, I wanted many different changes. For example, when before I think DTube it's almost approximately a year when we launched the mainnet. So it was, I think, October or November. So up until February or January, we didn't have the tipping system. So the main reason a lot of people left DTube because that lot of curators, meaning like people who upvotes, for example, under every video you see that, oh, this video has earned so much coins. Let's say this video has earned 100 coins. Now it's possible that the creator of the video who works so hard to make that video is earning less, like maybe only 10% of it, unless he or she has self-voted. Okay. So that was a big issue, is that, oh, like a lot of these curators are just making money off of the content creators. Kind of like what I was earlier suggesting, is that how big social media companies sort of like make money off of the content creators. So we basically, me, TechCoderX, Duke13. So these are the few leaders that has always been critical towards it. And then at the same time, we did not want to enforce anything on curators. That's why we sort of created, maybe we need to have a tipping system that was already in the proposal, and finally we had it. So actually me, TechCoderX, and some other leaders, we heavily pushed for it because we saw that, because sometimes me as I say, like I want more and more content creators to join. I don't want content creators to feel that, oh, I am working so hard and I see so much coins are being generated and I don't even make half. And there were a lot of users who even wanted that, why don't we just follow the Hive model? In the Hive space, I think it's like 50-50 sort of. I don't understand it 100%, but so yeah, I think that tipping, so since I joined the tipping system, I don't, yeah, definitely me, my involvement, and I was always for it, that happened. And for example, I am also sort of don't like the self-voting idea. Actually, I'm not against the self-voting idea. I don't like, because the ranking of the content ultimately depends on how much, like we have hot and trending, and that ranking depends on how much coin your video has generated. Now, if you are a very like a high stake leader, I mean, you have a lot of DTC, I can just upload any video and make it popular all the time. But I feel like that the content ranking should not be manipulated by the content creator itself, rather than it should be organic way of like something being popular should not be because someone had a lot of DTube coin. It should be based on the content quality. And also DTube has the problem of how many people really watch the videos. Maybe most people just upload and leave. Maybe most content creators just are already using multiple platforms and they just are not really spending too much time. So basically, I still, for example, right now we are talking about me and PFox. We want to create a sort of features, like we want to see how we want to create an engagement metric, meaning like how many minutes or hours you're spending. I was even for that. Oh, I was for like, I should not, nobody should not even upvote a comment before watching 50% of the video, but no other leaders like it. But I am kind of like for it, like maybe why are you upvoting in the first place, right? It should not be only because I want to make money. It should be like whether I like this content, then I voted. So if I had the complete liberty, I would probably add an engagement metric. I would probably had a restriction of how much, like how you vote. I would probably also, for example, right now, the number of total votes or number of view counts, those metrics are missing. And on top of that, these are only features I'm talking about. Right now, the whole ranking system and the whole DTube economy only depends on purely upvote and downvote. Like I wanted, from the very beginning, I wanted to see whether I can make the economy that we have based on some of these other metrics outside of the content thing, upvote and downvote. So all of this, I think some of leaders, at least some of prominent leaders, I think they sort of understand what I'm talking about. But this, because as I said, we are a very small team and a lot of people are working without any incentive. We have a problem of how to reward people, sort of problem. And yeah, I mean, eventually, if we keep working on it, I'm optimistic. It's only a year and a lot of projects take multiple years for them to be successful. Think about, we talk about Apple. Like, think about like Apple hasn't become Apple in 1 year. Like they have been like, I work for Cisco, or like that's my main job. I work for Cisco. Like it takes years, like years to have or achieve towards a certain place. And on the other hand, we are trying to sort of, I earlier talked about how we want to disrupt so many things, and it's not going to happen so easy, so fast. Yeah.
Yep. Just being
another one important thing I would add is, probably I haven't mentioned, this is very important and not a lot of people talk about it, but I have heard there's another platform called Minds.com. I don't know whether you have heard about it. So Minds is actually another cryptocurrency, and it's mainly popular in probably United Kingdom, but the main the creator is actually, I think the founder is from United States. He lives in the East Coast. So another important thing, aspects of cryptocurrency or crypto-based entrepreneurship is that everything is open source. If you think about every piece of line that even the leader, any leader of DTube or any developer of DTube is writing is open source. That means anybody can see what they're consuming. What I'm trying to tell you is that all this other social media, nobody knows what is in the Instagram code. Nobody knows what is in the Google code. All these Google softwares that we use, we don't have the access to the code, which means that we don't know how they have written the algorithm to maximize the profit or engage in like people's internet activity. We can only trust them, what they tell us. But there is no way for us to know what they really do in practice. That is, I think, a fundamental difference of crypto-based social media, because that is the fundamental difference also in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin's case, you can know that, oh, this is the amount of transactions that's happening. This is flowing from continent A to continent B. This much Bitcoin is flowing. You can see it in the network. Maybe you cannot identify exactly who is doing it, but you can see the flow. The transparency is the most beautiful thing that I think we talk less about it because a lot of people don't understand the significance of it, but it's very significant. Think about all these ideas that I'm talking about, engagement score or whatever. Whatever I or any leader add to DTube code, everybody can see what we are feeding people. And that is a very important thing. And that should be talked more, because any part of the code, so anything that anybody has opposition to or any user feel uncertain about or feel to object, they can immediately tell, oh, this is what DTube is doing. I don't like it. I can leave. But we are not hiding anything, at least from the coding perspective. And I think, as you can see, code is the God. In software level, code is the God. And if you know every piece of things, if you can verify every piece of thing, that's the ultimate transparency you can get. So it's not only just decentralization, it's also transparency. So I wanted to emphasize that. That a lot of interviews you will hear, a lot of people talk about cryptocurrency, they don't mention this. Most cryptocurrency, think about Ethereum, Bitcoin, every cryptocurrency, prominent cryptocurrency you can think of, all these are open source. Anybody can go and check what exactly is written there. You cannot just go and change anything. That requires a process. Every time we do a hard fork, there can be a lot of opposition. That's why, for example, the Bitcoin debate that happened, like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, for example, because some people wanted to add more bytes in the block size, but majority of Bitcoin leaders or people who, they did not want it. That's why that did not happen. And that's why they had to separate and create their own currency. But Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin Cash is not as expensive as Bitcoin. So that tells you that how transparency is important.
Yeah, I think that's quite important point. I think one of the reasons why we are able to why I am able to do research is because I have access to seeing what is happening on the community, on the code, or who is involved. So I think that makes it interesting. And just being aware of the time, are we good on time? Can I ask one more question or?
Yeah, I probably have 2 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, so just probably one last question and then we can wrap. So I think one of the question was, I think like you mentioned, transparency. I think what is also good about a lot of these communities like DTube is the forums where you are able to talk to the people community members. And I think Discord and Telegram are good places where, again, I can see what is happening in terms of what kind of changes are being discussed and what is being appreciated, what is not being appreciated. I think in terms of bots, I think we've seen a lot of discussion about bots and people talking about in favor of bots, people talking against bots. So all these things are transparently happening. So yeah, I think what is your how, again, maybe probably asking how have you seen the community or the forums change in case of DTube?
Yeah, I think, for example, I personally, when I joined versus now, I think I have been recognized more over time. I can see my personal recognition, definitely because a lot of DTubers think that I always try to help them, or I always try to engage into conversation that is productive or constructive. So there are many times users come with different ideas, or many times users come that don't understand. And my approach was always that how I can educate them. And also, I'm also selfish in the sense that I try to educate them so that next time they meet someone, they can educate that to other people. So that is how I view it. And because ultimately, as I believe in decentralized internet, and it's not going to happen, no matter how much I personally know, or no matter how much vision I have, as long as we don't encourage many people to understand the vision of it, it's never going to happen. And technically, it's still a challenging thing. So yeah, so I think the engagement, I think it's a high and low. And as I said, everything probably revolves around Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin is going up, everybody is in optimism. You will see a lot of new people come and join. And then let's say when there's a lot of fear in terms of regulations and everything, you will see a lot of people leave. And so what, a lot of people, there's very few people who stayed for too long, but it's probably just the nature of social media and cryptocurrency in general, because the people's attention span is low. But I think recently, at least I can see that the engagement has been growing, and a lot of old people has been coming back. A lot of people who has lost their confidence, especially DTube coin reaching almost $3 at, like, even though it did not last, but at least it is still being traded above 30 cents now. Of course, probably it's correlated with how Ethereum has been appreciated. But I think definitely price is something that moves people. And because especially people who has already been here and who already knew, who already believed in the project, but they left because they thought, oh, nothing is happening. It's easier for those people to come back. So in one hand, we want those people who engaged with DTube before, we want them to come back. At the same time, we want a consistent growth of new users. But one thing, like, I have been a members with lots of other Discord groups. Definitely there are groups which is much more vibrant, but even I would say a lot of this very successful projects don't have as much vibrant groups as we have. Like, we may not have a big vibrant group, but I would still say our, like, in terms of vibrance, we have a lot of optimism we can have. And what I'm suggesting, people who are vibrant, they are passionate about this project. So maybe we are still only 500 people, but a lot of them are passionate about it, which is a good thing. Maybe eventually, if we keep doing the good work, because the ultimate believers really matter, right? You probably don't need a lot of believers, but ultimately the growth will happen exponentially eventually if you have a core group of members. I mean, that is true. That's how Dogecoin or Shiba, those coins have risen, not because they are technologically great. It's because they just could retain a large group of members who really believed or loved that project. So I would end up saying this, that I just want a lot of people to love DTube as a project for what we envision. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And just before wrapping up, I just want to ask, do you have any question about my research, my project, anything that you want to know?
My personal idea was that you are just having research on alternative Alternative media, is that assumption correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my interests. Like I'm looking at social media platforms, but also looking at how alternatives are kind of growing and where are they heading now. So that's my interest. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you want, you can, if you briefly can tell me more, I would be
Uh,
happy.
so with this project particularly, I'm talking about what we call as a making a writing a biography of a platform. So that's something that we have as a framework that my supervisor has developed. Where so like we already spoke about technology is changing, and specifically in academia, when we are writing about platforms, things become redundant because what you've written now may not be relevant after 6 months because technology has changed, features have changed. So with the biography, what we're writing is like how the platform has changed over time. So that's what I want to do with DTube to see like to talk about the biography of DTube, where how it has gone from being a certain platform to certain like to a different shape in like 2 years time within my time period scope. So and what determines the factors like you're saying Bitcoin is a big factor. So like Bitcoin kind of determines a lot of growth on platforms like DTube. So what determines changes to DTube is what like those are the stories that we'll write in part of as part of the biography, rather than saying like okay these features are good in this platform. I mean this is how it's working. These are the kind of content on DTube. It's more of like how things change over time is what I'm saying, and it's interesting because I've seen DTube go from testnet to mainnet, and then like mainnet kind of had like a slump, like you mentioned, and now I'm seeing the growth. So those changes are good, interesting narratives. So
Oh, so you are aware of DTube since testnet? Did you,
yeah,
when
yeah,
did you
I've
know about
been following since like 2018, maybe. Like I think for 3, 4 years,
it?
I've been like seeing it going on and how it's changing. So
Okay. So you started asking everybody these questions recently. So you are one of the, would it be accurate to assume that you are one of the users who kind of saw the surge again? How did you get back to DTube?
oh, no, so basically, I had to go through like a process. Like I've been following it for a year or over a year, but
Mhm.
when I had to approach people, I had to go through a process of ethics where I sent a document about ethics. So I have to pass those process here. Only when the university says I can ethically do this research and talk to people on the platform, that's when I can come back to the forum and say, okay, can you talk to me? Because so I was still
Okay.
there passively using. I was trying to make videos of my own, which whenever I got time. But
Mhm.
once I got ethical approval, that's when I came and started approaching like people like, can I talk to you? And then can I hear more stories from you? So that's what I had to do. And also like this PhD is a short PhD, which is 3 year duration. So we don't have a lot of time. So if I had the opportunity, I could have done data collection. Like I could have done more interviews for a year's time. But with my
How
case,
how many interviews you have taken so far?
I think I've done 8 so far or 7, I think so.
So
And Tip
I
Fox,
know you did it with Duke, I believe. You did it
yes,
with
I spoke. Duke was the first person I spoke to. So
okay. That's great. Like
yeah.
yeah. So
So
did
I'm
you
hoping to like reach out to a couple more people and see if I get an opportunity to talk to them. So I'll talk to them and see what they say. So
okay. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, like when you are done writing, send it to me. I would be happy to
definitely.
read. Yeah.
So if you can send this recording to me, I want to transcribe this and put it together. So that's part of my process. And yeah, of course, when I write and when there's a publication, I'm going to share it, and then I can say what I'm finding as part of my research. And of course, I come from a media and cultural studies kind of background, so we have a different analytical framework, looking at history of things, history of media. So again, it might come. I might be seeing different perspectives, which might be useful to you. So yeah, I'll be happy to share with you. So
Okay, all right. So you are recording also. Do you want me to send
uh,
this?
it, I couldn't record. I think it didn't allow me to record, so I still need
Oh, okay.
proceed. Yeah.
I hope the voice got recorded properly because I was using my
Okay.
AirPod, but hopefully.
I
Yeah.
could
All
hear it
right.
clearly. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I will, whatever I got, I will
Yeah.
figure out. Maybe I'll upload on YouTube so that you can just directly get
Sure.
it
That
from
that'll
there.
be fine. I think. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have a good day. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Have a
Bye.
good weekend, and yeah, talk to you later. Thank you.